Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is Wednesday, August 2nd, 2017. My name is Thomas Hunt, and here's what's happening today in Bitcoin. That can't be right. Something about that headline, it's just not right. Anyway, the scaling for Bitcoin continues with estimated lock-in on August 8th. Still 990 blocks needed for segregated witness to lock in on the Bitcoin network. The price of Bitcoin was down around 1.32%, with a last of 2702, a high of 2782, and a low of 2676. Our top story today is that the World Crypto Network is trending and had 57,000 views. I can't seem to find my handy dandy tweet because it's gone. But anyway, we had an amazing show yesterday. We had more than 57,000 views. We were trending number 3 on YouTube Live, ahead of the Home Shopping Network and Al Jazeera, and neck and neck with a little outfit they call Sky News. You might have heard of it if you're in England. But thanks so much to everybody who watched yesterday, gave us a subscription, thumbs up, and a share. It was really fun hanging with you guys yesterday. And as we've said before, the top story today, the price of Bitcoin Cash is $691, a 96.20 rise. But are there any exchanges accepting Bitcoin Cash deposits? Kraken, Cloudflare, Bittrex, not accepting. Meanwhile, HitBTC is now said to be accepting Bitcoin Cash deposits. If you can't deposit your Bitcoin Cash, you can't sell it. And this is an important factor when looking at this $700 price. We're also joined by Blake Anderson. How's it going, Blake?
It's going fantastically. I'm just so stoked to go and unload all of my Bitcoin Cash. No, actually, it's very interesting. A whole lot of people are on Twitter being like, the price is up, the price is up, the price is up. Look at how much the price is up. And then I go through, my backends and stuff like that, and I look at arbitrage opportunities and how liquid these prices are and how much you can actually go through price discovery, action and try to get this stuff to work for you. And what you discover is that it's all siloed off and kind of almost like financially air gapped from the other markets. You can't get in and out. So when like the mainstream media and stuff is like, it's an upgrade, and the upgrade is like going up in value really, really fast. It's like, well, I don't know. When people are quoting the Bitcoin price from one exchange off of a visceral spike, I'll usually be like, hey, let's average this across exchanges and try to get the real price. I think it's a similar deal here where people are like, look, the price in this, siloed store of value that's kind of excised from other markets, it's going up really high. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that there's proper, price discovery mechanisms and an ability to trade something. And then as it becomes more able to interact with markets and stuff, you can see the strength of it, in terms of it going way up or way down. But for right now, we don't know enough money. I would love to go and sell some of my, Bitcoin Cash, but getting it into these exchanges seems to be tricky. And HitBTC, I don't have enough experience trading there to just go in and start to give them money. I would have to do some due diligence and research before I made any deposits, and then I would have to start small. I'm a pretty paranoid person, and I'm a risk management information scientist, so maybe not everybody's that paranoid, but it seems like with this situation, it might be good to act like a Fortune 25 company, like when new software upgrades come out and stuff, and maybe just kind of take a back seat for a while and look at what other people are doing, learn from their mistakes, and make sure that you don't make mistakes on your own time and on your own dollar.
We've also had some basic technology updates. If you're going to take your Bitcoin Cash and split it from your Bitcoin on your Trezor or Ledger, what we're suggesting is that you take all of your normal Bitcoin, send it to another account, maybe another Trezor or Ledger, maybe an exchange that you trust, send it there temporarily so that your Ledger Trezor is empty, then split your Bitcoin Cash, send it out. This way, your original Bitcoin are fine. They're on another device or another server, and you don't have to worry if something goes wrong while you're trying to split your Bitcoin Cash. Tone and Blake are freaking out. There's videos of people where the splitting goes bad. So I just want to avoid that for you guys. We have around 438 live viewers. If you could give us a thumbs up and a share, that'd be really great. And now we've got Tone with some technical analysis and more on Bitcoin Cash. Go ahead, Tone.
Yeah, no, thanks for that comment. And yes, there are videos of people that have problems with the splits. And we had a personal run-in with that. Someone tried to split their Bitcoin and accidentally sent all of their Bitcoin to the wrong Bitcoin address. Lucky for him, that wrong Bitcoin address turned out to be my Bitcoin address. So it's very ironic that the guy that was screaming not to try and chase that carrot ended up with all of the Bitcoins from someone else. And we'll talk more about that on our show with Jimmy, where we verified that person's signature, and I will be sending that person back his Bitcoin. So he is very lucky that it went to me, and we were able to figure out that it did go to me because he didn't know initially where it went.
We need a good guy tone meme. Somebody get on a good guy tone meme.
All right, so let's take a look at the price. So on the price, I'm not sure if the camera is on me because I still see Blake, but that's okay. So let's go back to the price. So here's Bitcoin. The weekly chart is still in bullish territory. I know that we are lower than the bullish entry that it said that it will have over at around the 28-25 range, but the FUD and the pump of this Bitcoin Cash scam is unreal, and they have the mainstream media on their side, which is not surprising because like the mainstream media never talked about, you know, the success of SegWit or the user activated soft fork, but they seem to be talking about the success of this altcoin that can't even be traded. So the weekly chart is staying put. The weekly chart would need to go below 2,500 in order to get into caution territory. So there's really not much there. The daily chart did throw a caution flag yesterday. I wanted to see a daily close above 27.85. We did not get that. So because we didn't get that close, the daily chart moved itself into an all cash wait and see stage. And right now it's still there. It is not signaling for a bearish trade yet. I still think there is time for all of this to resolve. Quick comments. So the VIA BTC hash rate has dropped from over 215 petahash, what we talked about yesterday, and I was nervous as this number kept ticking up. Now this number is ticking down. So that means VIA BTC is no longer mining it. They had a 66% reduction in hash rate that they're devoting to Bitcoin Cash. Also, I believe when I went to sleep last night, we were on this block or the block before. So we only mined about 3 blocks over the last 12 hours or so. So there isn't much mining going on. Of course, that also means that they're going to go to a difficulty change. The price is totally artificial because no one can move. If they self-split their Bitcoin Cash from their Bitcoin, they have nowhere to move that Bitcoin Cash in order to sell it. Those that gave up their private keys, they can sell the BTC Cash, but they're not allowed to withdraw the Bitcoin. So this is like a catch-22 that you can't actually have any price discovery. And sooner or later, people are going to realize what the hell is going on. And like this price is totally ridiculous. So
and right now, Tone, people are trying to hold you to your prediction of the first day of Bitcoin Cash. I think that's not fair unless deposits are accepted on major exchanges. Then perhaps it will go to $1.
Yeah, no, that's kind of that was kind of my mistake. I totally underestimated the fact, or didn't think about the fact that this like minority chain is going to need at least like 20 or 30 confirmations before anyone lets you transact in it. So I guess that was my fault, but I didn't really think that if you can't trade something and the price keeps going up, but you can't do anything about it, that I would be held to that. So let's see what happens when it's accepted. I mean, when you have no problem transacting in it, let's see what happens to the price then.
Well, I think that the value, like a good place to put it would be, the futures before the coin launched were kind of, low. And then we're like, they're going to be low later. And they're really, really high in these siloed, so somewhere between the futures that were tradable going into BCH and then how the price is now with those siloed areas of value. Let's say that the price is somewhere between those two. I think Jimmy Song was saying that with the difficulty and how much hashing power is behind it right now, that it should be worth around 310 or 311. So it's overpriced in terms of how that goes, just in terms of the raw work value that's going into it. And here's Jimmy, so maybe he can explain it a lot better than I just did.
We're also seeing reports in the chat of problems with Trezor, that Trezor is not letting people withdraw. They had to pull back their solution. They're putting out a new solution. So there could be a lot of frozen money that wants to get into this market. Tone, do you want to go on with your report, or you want to go with Jimmy for an update on Bitcoin Cash?
Well, no, I'm already done. I'll hand it off to Jimmy. I'm just going to say that for the rest of the day, I'm going to call this a tulip worth thousands of dollars that you can't actually sell.
Oh, I love tulips. Let's go to Jimmy Song for more information on Bitcoin Cash. We've been talking about how there's not enough exchanges accepting it right now, and that's probably keeping the price up.
Yeah, and that would be logical because there's not that much hash power on the Bitcoin Cash side. So, I mean, it's only 12 blocks deep. An attack on that chain would cost about 14 Bitcoins per block. So you could do it with about 200 Bitcoins and just wipe out that chain if you had the hash power to do it. But yeah, the big story right now is that the last 9 hours we haven't found a single block on Bitcoin Cash, and it looks like there was a story earlier on Bitcoin.com about the trading center, that address that we saw in the Coinbase text, that they were a bunch of miners, and apparently they're not mining Bitcoin Cash anymore. So the only amount of hash power going into Bitcoin Cash at the moment is the VIA BTC pool.
And Jimmy, look, I talked about it earlier. The hash rate dropped from 215 petahash down to 70 when I woke up this morning.
Right, time to invest.
Yeah, so here's the thing about that. It's not economically rational to mine Bitcoin Cash right now because the difficulty is exactly the same as Bitcoin. And you're like, even if we take the ridiculously high $1,000 Bitcoin Cash, that's still a lot less than the 2,700 that you get from Bitcoin, mining normal Bitcoin. And the, probability of finding a block is exactly the same on both. So we're sort of waiting for the difficulty to adjust down. And since there hasn't been any downward, there hasn't been any blocks found in the last 9 hours. If we find less than 5 blocks in the next 5 hours, we should start triggering the difficulty adjustment. So that's an article that I'm going to try to write, but we're sort of fighting fires over because I work at an exchange and stuff. So
Jimmy, just to be clear,
sorry.
There's let's say I did send my Bitcoin Cash to hit BTC. If there hasn't been a block in like the last 8 hours or whatever, would I get enough confirmations? Will I be able to send my Bitcoin Cash to via BTC if there are no blocks, or to hit BTC?
Probably not. And you would be crazy as an exchange to accept any blocks without like many confirmations. So you can't really blame exchanges for not accepting deposits yet because it's very risky, and if they risk wipeout, and that's still kind of in play because of the low hash rate. So yeah, I mean there's a lot of things that you got to think about with respect to this, and like the fact that there hasn't been a block in 9 hours. Is somebody stealth mining? Is somebody doing there's a lot of different questions that you sort of have to think about as an exchange, because there's a lot of attack vectors into a coin with this low hash rate. But yeah, I mean, obviously the low liquidity on these exchanges is affecting the price, and I don't know if enough pricing information is getting into them because of a lack of blocks essentially on Bitcoin Cash.
Now, it's funny because in retrospect, it looks like the right move might have been hold your coins on Bittrex or maybe Kraken, sell your BCH for Bitcoin. But then I want to bring up this problem. Bittrex currently, well, I think they opened Bitcoin withdrawals, but for a while there, Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin withdrawals were both frozen. So even if I successfully sold for one for the other, they could still exit scam, take all my money, and I'm not going to be able to get a new laptop, which is really looking like the moral of the story. I'm not getting a free laptop today. I'd like one.
We got to give better advice. We got to say, you know what? Don't hold your private keys. Don't make a new wallet for every transaction. caution. Everything that we know about Bitcoin, don't do any of that stuff because you could get some free BCH on an exchange.
Well, so yeah, I mean, this is the problem. If you wanted to win on this particular thing, you had to take some custodial risk. And I mean, Tone was saying last week, it's very possible that Via BTC was setting up for an exit scam. So I mean, like, you know, that was a possibility back then. Even if that probability was small, you would lose both your Bitcoin and your Bitcoin Cash if they did do that. So, you know, custodial risk is no joke. You really need to be very careful about, you know, where you keep your Bitcoins. So, yeah, I mean, you know, maybe it pays off. It does feel a little bit like, you know, back in 2013 when ASICs were coming online and things, you know, like there were all these companies that were like funding their ASIC development by taking pre-orders. There was one company that Avalon, I think, that actually came through, but pretty much everybody else, they just sort of, you know, took your money and ran, or delivered really late, or, you know, in a way that wasn't very profitable. So that's what this feels like to me.
Shout out to Josh Zerlin. That guy is my best friend ever. I loved his pre-mining, you know, orders and the way that Butterfly Labs handled that whole thing. It's a class act.
Why you no ship? Why you no ship?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, custodial risk is a very, very big risk. So, you know, be very careful about that. But yeah, I expect most exchanges to be scrambling like we are and trying to figure out what the hell to do. Because, you know, this is not, I mean, I've said this before, this is socializing the costs of a hard fork to the entire ecosystem. And that's not good. You know, we'll see where it goes. It's great for us because, you know, we're getting like tons of views on our videos and stuff. But as far as everybody else, you know, they have to do all this work and trying to figure out how to split things cleanly.
Yeah. Hey, if cash.coins.dance is watching, please put a timestamp on these things. Like I woke up this morning, I didn't know at which block I went to bed. So that would have been very helpful. And let's see if the mainstream media reports if there isn't a block found by tomorrow, if they're going to mention that part.
It seems like a pretty important part of the story.
I like the example of cloning the car or the semi in top gear, and then it starts out stopped and it has to get up to speed. And people are like, well, look at the performance of that. It's like, well, it's got to shift first. And if we can get this downshift, then we can get more information about this cloned semi. But for right now, it's not efficient to drive in fifth gear from stopped.
Your car analogies are like completely lost on me because I don't understand what you're talking about. Hopefully there's some car, you know, I don't know what you call car enthusiasts. I'm sure there's like a, you know, funny name for them, but hopefully they understand if there's, you know, a nice crossover mix of Bitcoiners and car people.
Well, it's just like the appropriate gear versus the appropriate speed and difficulty. Like when you're going slow, you want to be in first gear. And when you're, you know, have a new chain, you want the difficulty to be a little bit lower, because when it starts high, there's a whole bunch of reroll that can go on in terms of when you get shifted to the appropriate place.
I see.
Reroll being the technical term.
Okay, so does anybody want to see my, or should I save it? I will be doing a full technical analysis show later on today on my channel, but here's what happens when I throw the technical indicator on the price between Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin as a teaser. There was a 9 that set up a 1 to 4 candle pullback. This is on 30-minute charts. And then we had a 13. We had a 9, 13, 9 sell indicator. We topped out on a gravestone doji, as they call it, right here. 1 hour later, and we have just entered a short position. So those of you that are able to trade but aren't able to withdraw, as of this 30-minute period using 30-minute candles, it is a short play.
Wow.
That second to last candle reminds me of Theo. It almost looks like the Darth Maul candle that he famously coined the name of. The Darth Maul candle, the red candle with wicks on both ends.
Hey, do we really have 1,000 viewers right now? Do we really have 1,000 viewers? Wow.
I don't know how to judge that, Jimmy. We'll have to have them line up in an auditorium or something. Everyone count one at a time. But
That's crazy. Do you want to take questions or something, or no?
If you want to put a few questions in the chat, we could try to answer them. Like Jimmy said, we do have 1,000 viewers, so if everyone could give us a thumbs up and a share, make sure to subscribe if it's your first time here. We do these every day. Usually they're about 10-15 minutes. We could look for
there
a couple
goes
of
that plan. Our show yesterday was supposed to be 1 hour.
we did do one of those hour shows yesterday that went on for about 7 to 8 hours. So that's known to happen around here, but there isn't really big news today. So I'm not sure how long we're going to extend this one.
The only factor greater than the length of the last show was the success of the last show.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. Hey, did you enable the like donate thing on the YouTube, or is that not possible on this one?
Super chats always turned on. We have the QR code I was going to show at the end of the show. If anyone wants to pause it and send us a little bit of Bitcoin, would be cool. Let's go for some questions. Do you see Bitcoin Cash sticking around? I'll just go down the line. Blake.
Yeah, I mean, like, currencies don't usually go to zero and disappear. So that happening, like a strong situation of systemic binary failure and it going to zero and disappearing, I mean, I don't think that that's going to happen.
Jimmy.
Well, so I think it will after the difficulty adjusts, and that I will try to make an article, though I have a lot of work with my current employer that I really have to go and do. But and it's all related to Bitcoin Cash, by the way. So it's again, socialized costs, right? But yeah, I expect it to stick around, especially after the difficulty adjusts back down. It will be around 10-minute blocks, and it may be economically rational if the price stays up, which I don't know if that will do. I'm sure Tone will have more to say about that. But yeah, that's going to happen. So yeah, I most likely, I mean, unless like a ton of hashing power shows up in the next 3 hours or something. So yeah, I expect it to stick around. Digital currencies have a really hard time dying unless like no one is willing to mine it, which I really, really doubt.
Tone Vase, does it stick around?
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to stick around. The question is it going to be economically viable? I mean, as much as I hate Bitcoin Cash, it's still, more honest and more legit than like 98% of the altcoins out there, right? Like I know it may sound like I'm propping it up right now, but I'm really, really not. I mean, Aurora coin is still sticking around. You can still go and buy Paycoin. It still has a market value. So these things always stick around. But the question is, how economically viable are they? And who's programming future development? But yeah, let's see what happens after the difficulty adjusts. I mean, I'm not expecting any more blocks. And if you see this via BTC petahash sticking down, then no one is really mining it, and they're all waiting for the difficulty to drop so they can start mining it again, and then just to sell it for Bitcoin, assuming exchanges are accepting it to sell for Bitcoin. I mean, there's like 18 chicken and eggs going on right now at the same time.
I think it's funny too when people talk about anything going to zero. I mean, like the Roman denarius or whatever still has a tourist value. So whenever everybody says that something's going to go to zero, it really is implying systemic failure, like collapse, like the system is no longer there. So.
It actually has a pretty damn high value right now, 2,000 years later as a collectible, right?
Yeah.
So if you're the last guy with running, the Bitcoin Cash node in like 20 years, that might be an amazing collectible. You might be able to get all your money back.
Digital collectibles, yes. We had a question from somebody that, do you want to talk about that, Thomas?
Go ahead. Well, I was going to do a quick technical question for Jimmy. I want to say, what's a small block size, just for people that are new to this?
A small block size is anything less than 1 megabyte, I guess.
And how would that affect the network? There'd be less transactions in a small block size system?
Well, so in a small block size system, the mempool clears slower. And the mempool is just all the transactions that want to be sort of in the blockchain. And as they sort of clear off the mempool, they go into the blockchain and they're sort of in the record forever. So it's sort of like think of it like a line of people at a notary or something like that, and that you can sort of cut in line if you pay the notary more or something like that. So that's sort of what it's like, and having a larger block is just sort of having more notaries or something to that effect. But obviously there are other ways to scale the blockchain, and that's what this whole thing was about.
Can I just add to that? And this may sound like the solution is simple and just add more notaries, but it's not, because doing that could cause 2 Bitcoins.
Yeah, you have to have to make the building much bigger, and in order to accommodate the extra notary, so you have to sort of tear it down. And if people don't want to tear them down, I could extend the analogy to be more and more ridiculous. But
right, well, it's not even an analogy, right? I mean, yes, Jimmy is correct, but the solution to making it bigger is extremely difficult, not only technologically, but also socially. And if there are solutions that can solve the problem without increasing that block size, they should first be exhausted. And then if they're found inadequate, we can then bring the discussion back in about raising the block size and making it bigger.
Well, I would say that adding more notaries means that you're going to have more audit overhead if you're going to audit everything that's going on. And that audit overhead from having all that extra work going on and having to supervise it more is kind of like the UTXO said. There's consequences to doing things faster with more people, and that making sure that the entire thing in aggregate is running really, really smoothly becomes exponentially more difficult.
All right, we've also got another question from Trey Therium, and Trey's also donated $50 to us through through what's it called, Magic Chat. I forget. Super chat. That's it. Thanks, Trey. His question is, thanks for the videos today and yesterday. Do you guys see Bitcoin going to the moon soon? Thanks. And we'll go to Tone on this one. There has been reports of Standpoint and Moody's were saying that Bitcoin could go to $5,000. Goldman Sachs about the same. A lot of the big boys are starting to weigh in, but we're looking for Tone. Will it go to the moon?
Well, it depends on your definition of moon. The $5,000 mark is, I'm okay with that, and my target for that would be around end of September. So I'm giving it about 2 months. So if you're okay with the definition of moon being $5,000 per Bitcoin within the next 2 months, then yeah, it can certainly do that. Now, with this whole Bitcoin Cash thing needs to play out, and I thought it would only take 24 to 48 hours, and now it looks like it'll take closer to a week. And as Bitcoin hangs around the all-time high, it just builds more and more pressure. And once it busts out, and this might take another week or two for people to realize that Bitcoin Cash was always dead on arrival, people just didn't realize it yet. As it busts out, it can definitely have enough momentum. Like my indicator went bullish right here on Monday, and the last time it went bullish, the price of Bitcoin was around 1220. So it went from 1220 to 3000. So it pretty much more than doubled in price the last time this indicator had the same buy signal that it did. So let's see if it doubles in price from here, that takes us to even above 5,000. But I'm not expecting much more above 5. That's pretty much my ceiling.
All right, we've got one more technical question, then we're going to do a quick recap. This is mainly for Jimmy. Only the first block was big. All the other ones were under 1 megabyte. What was the point?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I remember when the moon was like, over $1,000, and before that it was like $100. So moon keeps just, as somebody said in chat, moon just keeps getting further and further away.
We're going to Mars.
Yeah. I don't know what that is. As far as your question, what was the point? Well, yeah, that's kind of a good question. I mean, we always kind of knew that if there was a hard fork like this, that they probably wouldn't have that many transactions, especially since exchanges aren't accepting them yet, right? I expect that when exchanges start accepting them, and third-party wallets and things allow Bitcoin Cash transactions, that this will at least be a lot more full than it has been. Right now, it's I think the last block was 85 kilobytes. I don't know what the mempool is right now. I really have to run a Bitcoin ABC client just to see. But Yeah, I mean, we're looking at maybe the next block will be over a megabyte. It really depends, and once that first exchange starts accepting Bitcoin Cash, I imagine this will go up. But yeah, I mean, as far as the point goes, you really have to ask the people that created Bitcoin Cash and not me, because I don't know.
Hey, Jimmy, let me ask you this question because I'm looking at it now. How much do you think it cost whoever that miner was? Because we don't know the name of that miner, but that miner was obviously promoting a co-working space that's about to launch. Actually, I spoke to the guy that runs that space. I wanted to get the name of the miner, but he wouldn't tell me. So
we should have been ready for a live interview. We really could have promoted that co-working space.
No, he was asleep. No, we promoted it enough. So let me ask you something. How much do you think it cost this miner to mine on this fork chain as opposed to the Bitcoin? Like, how much money did this miner lose, assuming he stopped mining for Bitcoin Cash and has moved back over to Bitcoin?
Well, so the easiest way to estimate it is count the number of blocks that they did, and you can easily see that it's 9 blocks. And if you found 9 blocks on the normal Bitcoin chain, that would be 9 times about 14.
No, but he wouldn't have found those. He would have had a lot more competition on the other chain.
No. But the difficulty is exactly the same, Tone. So
no, the difficulty might be the same, but his probability of finding a block is significantly lower. This is one of those mathematical.
No. It's not, Tone. It's not, Tone. It's exactly the same, because at any second your hash might be the proof of work. So the probability of finding it.
Right, but then you're assuming that his pool would have found that block, and that's not necessarily true.
Right, but the amount of hash power required to find 9 blocks on the Bitcoin Cash chain is exactly the same right now, because the difficulty is the same. So if they found 9 blocks here, it would be 9 blocks on Bitcoin. That's just.
I want to argue this mathematic. I want to argue this. I mean, maybe my math masters is worth nothing, but I want to argue. I don't think that's true.
No, it's controvertibly correct.
No, it's true, because think about this, Tone. Okay, if on the Bitcoin blockchain, what would have happened is, I mean, maybe there's a little bit of slippage because, like, you have to go and verify the previous block.
Let's say this was a person mining, but his pool only found 3 blocks during that time, not 9. Then he's only getting rewards from 3 blocks, not 9 blocks.
Right, but he would have found this many if this hash power was on the Bitcoin blockchain, because the difficulty is exactly the same. I mean, on average.
I don't believe that has to be true.
No, it absolutely is. It's mathematically true. I mean, because think about it. Okay, so Tone, the way that mining works on the Bitcoin blockchain is if, like, at any point you can find the proof of work. Now, it's possible that they could have gotten orphaned or something like that, and maybe we could factor in that.
No, we're not talking about that.
Well, yeah, that's the only other risk.
Okay.
Yeah, those are your only supporting factors.
Okay. Okay. Let's put it this way, right? Let me. No. This is a good discussion here. Okay. Let's say this miner was mining as part of, I don't know, this unknown 1.9% pool. Okay, because we're unknown, right? So if he was mining on this pool, if with that same hash rate. And they only found 2 blocks over the last 12 hours, he would not have had 9 blocks worth of rewards. Like, for example, if Antpool would have found a block during that time, he is not benefiting.
Right. So it's not so you're sort of thinking it as like a fixed pie, but that's not kind of how this works. So So if Antminer had all their hashing power on Bitcoin Cash, they would have found the exact same number of blocks as they did yesterday on average as they did on Bitcoin, because that's just how mining works. The difficulty is constant. So on average, as a network on the Bitcoin chain, you're finding blocks at about once every 10 minutes. But if it was just Antpool, they would find about 20% of those blocks. You agree with that?
On the Bitcoin.
Yeah. So
sure.
Okay. So and if all of the hashing power on the Bitcoin network were on Bitcoin Cash, you would have the same exact thing. You agree?
What do you mean? They would find 20. Well, no, they would find 20 blocks on the Bitcoin chain, but they're not the only ones finding blocks. They would find 20 blocks, and everybody else would find maybe 50 blocks.
Right. Okay.
If they put all of their hashing power on Bitcoin Cash, they would find all 50 blocks. It would take them longer, but they would find all 50.
All right.
So be competing with anyone.
Okay, all right. So think of it this way. Let me try an analogy, see if that helps. Okay, so mining is kind of like every hash that you're calculating is kind of like a lottery ticket, right? And you know it doesn't, and they're all the numbers in a lottery ticket are kind of unique or whatever. Then every time you find a block, you found like something that satisfied the proof of work. That difficulty is exactly the same on both chains right now.
No, I understand, Jimmy. I understand.
But right. But if somebody else finds a block, it doesn't preclude you from finding another block. That's it. They're mutually exclusive, is what I'm saying, and that's why the 9 blocks that they found here, if they had pointed the same amount on the other chain, it would have been exactly the same. 9.
All right, we'll pick this up another time. I still want to argue this point. We got to get a pen and paper, and we got to do like a Venn diagram here.
Yeah, I think we need a chalkboard here. Really, we're missing a whiteboard.
I think the confusion is between difficulty and the pie split up of who gets what in terms of the 15 minutes. But yeah, that could be gone into.
But my point is, how much did this promotion cost them, and was it worth it?
So I'm gonna guess around 100 bitcoins is what it costs. 9 blocks, and that's about 126, I think, and assuming like a very generous estimate of 26, that being the equivalent in Bitcoin Cash that they found being worth about 26 Bitcoin. That's over 100 Bitcoins that they lost by doing.
Okay, so that's a very expensive promotion. Maybe more of a stab at the history books than a promotion.
I had estimated about 117.
We'd like to thank our donors this morning. Thanks to donor 0.001855 and donor 0.12345. Thank you so much for supporting the show. We also had another super chat, and I want to warn you guys, these super chats really make it hard to close the show out because I feel like we're taking your money and not answering your question, and that's not acceptable. So Audrius, apologies if I say your name wrong, he writes, guys, what will be Bcash's effect on Bitcoin PR medium to long term? What is the main damage it already did and will do?
Great question.
Blake, you got some PR answers for?
Yeah, I would just say in the age of information, the scarce resource is attention. It's not information anymore. So in terms of this extra confusion being blobbed out into the static of the age of information, it's going to take a lot more attention to sort this stuff out. So in the near term, it's going to make things harder to vet for novice people, which is probably maybe not the best thing.
Blake makes a really good point here. I think the problem is we've taken the Bitcoin is dead story. When you ask someone, you're like, oh, you're still into Bitcoin? I thought it died. And now we're having the Bitcoin is split story. So they're going to tell you, oh, I heard Bitcoin split into 2 and it's not worth that much. And then maybe there's 4 or there's 8 of them. Let's go to Jimmy, your thoughts on how much this will hurt Bitcoin's PR.
That's a really good question, and this is something that I've been afraid of for like 6 months. Is what are we going to do when we have 2 things? It looks like at least the brand confusion isn't as much of an issue, and this is playing out more like an altcoin launch with a big airdrop, and that seems to be the case. Yeah, I mean, as far as it damaging the Bitcoin brand, I don't think it's doing that so much because it seems to be like I said, an altcoin. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously costing the ecosystem a ton of time and money, in terms of like resources you have to do to sort of protect against all the different attack vectors, and it's shutting down exchanges for a couple of days all over the place. It's shutting down like payment processors, and they have to figure out what to do. So yeah, it's done a significant amount of damage in that regard, because it's socializing the costs of launching this altcoin, which kind of sucks. But that's what we talked about yesterday. Watch our like 7-hour and 35-minute video from yesterday that was originally supposed to be an hour. But I mean, we obviously appreciate having having you guys along for the ride. So.
I can't believe how upbeat you are, even though you're personally paying a portion of the socialized costs. Like, they definitely, like, good guy Jimmy meme now needs to come up.
He's literally being asked to write the deposit and withdrawals for the Bitcoin Cash. He's literally, the extra work has fallen to Jimmy. Let's
right. That's exactly what I'm doing. I have to go and figure out if electron cash is like secure or not, and make sure that it's not like stealing keys or something. That's exactly what I have to go do. Yeah.
That's it. That's the realities of the situation. Let's go to Tone for one more comment on PR. Then we're going to do a recap and we're going to end the show.
Right. No, and I agree with Jimmy. And I was going to say, yeah, you're personally dealing with this because you work for an exchange and you have to deal with this nonsense. I'd say the biggest PR damage that's going to come out of it is just another example of how, a media-driven push can just manipulate the mainstream media and push an agenda, as opposed to a grassroots movement within the Bitcoin space that got us segued, that the mainstream media didn't talk about till the end, and in a negative light as always. So I am worried about that. The good news is that this will show once again how incompetent the mainstream media is, and they have no idea who to go to for comments, and it'll help us grow this channel to become some real media. And perhaps one day we can branch out into other parts. But so this should be, there are some good things, that grassroots, that will come out of this.
All right, Tone, and just to recap what we talked about this morning, we talked about Bitcoin Cash. As of right now, there are very few exchanges taking Bitcoin Cash deposits. Even if you do have one like HitBTC or Kraken, which is Cloudflared, which accepting the deposits, there aren't enough blocks being confirmed on Bitcoin Cash for you to get enough transactions to send your Bitcoin Cash from your cold storage to the exchange. Additionally, we want to warn people, Trezor has pulled back their update. I'm not sure if the new update's out, but you need that update to split your cash. If you're going to split your Bitcoin Cash on a ledger, we've heard scary reports, even though the menus look very safe. What we're suggesting is that before you transfer your Bitcoin Cash, that you take your ledger and send your real Bitcoin somewhere else, maybe an exchange that you trust, maybe another ledger or another Trezor. Then when your Trezor is empty of Bitcoin, then try to split it and send your Bitcoin Cash. This way your Bitcoin will be safe and you don't have to have one of those panic freakouts. Where is my money? I know what that's like. It's horrible. But we've had about 1,500 live viewers today. It's definitely a record for this show, not counting yesterday. If everyone could give us a thumbs up and a share. If it's your first time here, make sure to subscribe down below. We do videos like this pretty much every day. We've been doing the news every day for about a month now. And we do a weekly wrap-up show on Fridays. We have a couple other talk shows here and there. We're trying to get more content for you and also to keep the quality high.
How long have we been doing the Bitcoin group for?
Been doing the Bitcoin group at least for 3 years. We're on episode maybe 153. So there's a weekly episode, so about 52 a year.
So we keep getting more viewers. I'm not sure how that works. I don't know if you want to pull up the link I put in the group chat there with Bitcoin.com, the trading center. But I mean, since there's a lot of people watching, and I assume that they want to know a little bit more about this, I just want to tell you that this is apparently the pool that was mining all those blocks, 9 of those blocks. And according to this article, this is sort of the mining operator that was putting that address of the hostel there. If you scroll down a little bit, what it says is that that they are not going to mine on Bitcoin Cash anymore because it's not profitable. And I mean, Tony and I talked about this earlier, but it's they lost about 100 Bitcoin earlier today, all of yesterday, mining this instead of the other one. We could go debate that later. I think maybe we will have another show later on if I can get all my work done today. But yeah, the trading center says that they were doing this for fun and that they will not be mining Bitcoin Cash. So we can expect the blocks to come in very slowly, especially given that Via BTC has lowered their allocation to Bitcoin Cash in terms of hash power.
100 Bitcoin loss is an incredible loss. I can see why they changed their mind. But yes, Jimmy, we are above 1,500 viewers. We're probably bigger than the Home Shopping Network for the second day in a row with their measly 1,200 viewers. If you'd like to buy something, you can scan the QR code on your screen. It only sells one thing, and it's not giving them out anymore. But thanks for everyone for watching. Like we said earlier, you probably won't be able to get a free laptop for your Bitcoin Cash. There's no such thing as a free laptop, but maybe today. We'll have to see. We're out of time. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.